Hello, this is video 2 for the Travel Grants Reading Committee training. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through scoring an example letter that we created for this training that you'll score using the rubric. So if you're not familiar with the rubric, if you haven't watched video 1, please make sure you go back and do that before moving on to this video. So you should have received an email, something along these lines already. And in particular, this email should have included both a link to the example application letter, which is one of the documents that you'll need in order to practice scoring, and then also the rubric. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is actually pull up both of these links and open them in separate windows. And then I'm going to have you actually read through the letter and score it using the rubric. And then you can come back to this video and I'll walk you through how the committee was looking at this letter and their scores on the rubric. So go ahead and pause the video now. And then once you've finished scoring and reading the letter, you can come back. Okay, so if you are watching this part of the video, you should have scored the example letter already. And in the remainder of the video, I'm just going to be talking you through how the committee came to these scores, which you can see here. So we gave the first rubric category of teaching service commitment to equity, access, inclusion, or social justice, the score of a 1. We gave the letter a score of a 3 for research contributes to WPA scholarship, and we scored the letter a 2 for potential impact of attendance at CWPA. So I'll walk through the rationale in detail in just a moment, but I wanted to draw attention to the rubric language as it relates to the specificity of examples that are offered in the letter. So in the first category, they're going to get this 1 largely because the letter shows some reflection upon aspects of social justice or equity as it relates to their teaching and service activities, but the explanation itself is not very specific. There are no examples that they're offering to their reader. In contrast, they're getting a 3 because they use clear and substantial examples when describing their contribution to WPA scholarship. So a key thing that you are evaluating as readers is how specific these letters are in these different categories. So please keep that in mind as we go through the letter together now. As you can see here, we've used a Google Doc, and as I work through explaining a rationale for these different categories, I will actually click on the comments. So if you ever want to read them with more detail, feel free to, again, just pause the video and go ahead and read the comment at your own pace. And then another thing a bit more holistically about this letter, the committee wrote this letter together, so it is a true example letter. And when we were talking about doing this and making this training video, we decided to use a 3-paragraph structure where each paragraph relates to one of the questions. And we actually chose this structure particularly to make it easier for this training activity. But I do want to remind you that the letters you'll be reading may not look like this. And so applicants might actually mix together their answers to these different questions. And so it might not be as kind of clear cut where to look to apply the rubric. And so that's really going to be something that you as the reader need to keep an eye out for as you're reading. Okay, so for the first rubric category and the answer to the question, how does your teaching or service reflect or forward WPA GO's commitment to equity, social justice, and inclusion? This letter was rated a 1 because the answer is not very specific for the examples that are given in this first paragraph. Now, the paragraph starts off well, like the opening is clearly, talking about a diversity-related issue in the classroom, so talking about their institutional context in particular here. And it's clear that this person is mindful or at least thinking a little bit about social justice and diversity. So they get further on in their paragraph after talking about Kirschbaum's work. They give us a little bit more kind of direct application statements about how they orient their classroom activities towards this. But then they conclude without a specific example of this. So as the reader here, this is a 1 because we felt that we were still asking questions about what actually happened in their classroom, the paragraph as they wrote it did not provide a clear and convincing detail to help us actually understand how these values were going to be enacted. Okay. So moving on, this second paragraph is where they talk about research and answer the question, how does your research contribute to the field of WPA writ large? And this is the paragraph that received a 3, or I'm sorry, this is the category from the rubric where they received a 3, because they do offer some clear examples and rationale about the importance of their scholarship for WPA scholarship. So they start off and they first are talking about the importance of multimodality and its influence or connection to the classroom. Okay, so here they're kind of situating disciplinary context and knowledge. So they're introducing us to kind of their topic, and then they connect this with ongoing conversation. In particular, as you can see here, they're making this connection to the online or the need for online instruction, and how this multimodal digital pedagogy is really important for that conversation. Okay, and then by the end of the paragraph, okay, they're once again coming back to kind of that statement of why this research is really valuable and important for our field at this moment. And so that, for those reasons, that's why this received a score of 3, that they were making a clear and convincing argument for the importance of this scholarly area for WPA research. Okay. And now for the third category, the potential impact of CWPA attendance. This is the category that received a grade of 2 on the rubric, okay? And so they start off and they have a motion towards the importance of community for them, but it's actually not very specific at this point. And then here, where they give 2 examples of how they might bring back things from the conference to their home institution community. But this got a 2 because while they mention 2 particular moments, they don't actually tell us, why they think that this will be really useful or something to bring back to, pedagogical training. And they don't give us an idea of what bringing that back might look like. So we like the fact that they mentioned 2 moments, but still had some questions about what would actually be going on there. Okay. So hopefully this video was helpful in terms of making you feel more comfortable with using the rubric, and starting to really think about how to find those clear and really explicit examples in the application letters, and really be looking for those if we're going to give 3 scores to people in the rubric categories. And I'm going to conclude here, but I'm going to first briefly remind you of the scoring process itself. So you'll be working in pairs or threesomes to score the letters. So every letter will be scored by multiple readers. And you're also going to be in pairs or threesomes because we don't know the total amount of letters we're going to receive. So how many readers read each letter is going to be dependent on the total amount that we receive, because we're trying to be conscious of essentially the labor that's going into this reading. So when the committee receives all the applications, we'll anonymize and sort them into Google folders for scoring, and then you'll get an email that has your folder and reading assignment. And this email will also contain a link to the Google form where you will be able to actually see the rubric, and for each particular letter, use the form to score each letter once. And that should be a really simple process. You're just going to be reusing the same form, which will then allow us on the other end of that form to aggregate and average all the scores. And then the committee will determine if there's any ties or anything like that. The committee will kind of take it from there. So you'll receive your assignment with all your folder and all the letters in it by April 5th. And then we're going to ask you to please complete your scoring no later than April 15th. Because this will allow the committee to kind of do our due diligence of averaging and meeting and talking about the winners, and then contact the winners before May 1st, which is the advertised timeline for that. So please, if you have any questions or issues with the documents that you're going to be reading, or any questions about the process, etc., please don't hesitate to reach out. You can contact me at cmking@udel.edu with any questions. And once again, we just really thank you for helping us out. We literally could not read and score these applications if we did not have your assistance. So, thank you once again.